We are live. What's up, wrestling fans? Let me just start out by saying, watch out for gravity, especially when you're in a soggy park. That's all I'm saying about it.
Doug, who was conspicuous in his absence last time around, he actually had a pay-per-view, or rather a premium live event match against Gravity. And spoiler, guess who won?
Gravity are well beyond our rubber match at this point, and there are not many ups for all of my downs with Gravity, but that's a story for another time. What's happening, Kevin?
We're here to talk about some different stories, Doug. I'll tell you what's happening. We are, believe this or not, I wish I'd have known with the last episode, but where you weren't able to join us, it's probably good I didn't do some celebrations, but congratulations to you, my friend, and I. We have 100 episodes under our belt. Can you believe it? 100 episodes.
That is amazing.
This is 101. So, folks, if you've watched 100 or this is your first, thank you for tuning in. Doug presented this idea a few years ago, wanted to do it. Never would have guessed we would be 101 episodes now into this endeavor.
So some YouTube gurus tell me that, after you make your first 100 crappy videos, you're set for life. It just skyrockets from there. So I'm ready for our, 500,000 subscribers. So hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Let's take this plane off. Strap a rocket to us and let's go.
If you are amongst those 500,000, yes, do exactly as Doug said. Go ahead and like, subscribe, follow us now.
Occasionally, you'll see me grab my chest. It's not a cardiac event. I do have, it's more than lingering chest pain, but it's musculoskeletal and not cardiac. So it will look at multiple times like I'm having a heart attack, especially if I start laughing or get too excited or animated.
We are talking AEW, by the way, folks. Tonight's main event topic, as you can see, double or nothing Doug here. So the chances of Doug getting really excited are pretty darn good.
We're just going to sip on my Diet Coke and take it easy tonight.
So strap in and you can watch a man have a heart attack live on the internet. All right. What do you say?
Let's get into the opening bell, Kevin.
Well, I'm hitting the opening bell and I'm getting nothing. So
ding, ding, ding. How about that?
We'll go ding, ding, ding.
I do some Foley work for us tonight. Ding, ding, ding.
Because there is a lot in the opening bell segment. We really deserve a real bell here because you talk about a news week. What in the world kind of news week would you have when Ric Flair returning to the ring at age 73 is not your top story, but it's not our top story. Doug, first thing, we got to talk about it, man. And if you're under a rock, folks, and haven't heard this, obviously, Raw this last week did not have the main event that was anticipated. Bianca Belair was supposed to find her next challenger and the winner of a six-pack challenge that was supposed to feature Sasha Banks, Naomi, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Nikki, and Doudrop. Instead, what happened apparently is Sasha Banks and Naomi walked into the Scope Arena, Norfolk, Virginia, heard about the plan to determine the number one contender for the Raw Women's Championship, protested. Eventually, when they weren't able to come to agreement with Vince McMahon on what was going to occur, they went to John Laurinaitis, handed over the women's tag team championships, and left. Obviously, there's a lot of debate exactly as to the women's side of the story. There's some articles reporting that Naomi was expected to win and face Belair at Hell in a Cell. However, you'd think that, that would maybe obviously headlining against Belair. That's a big deal on a premium live event. So there's definitely more here than meets the eye. Some are saying that it really is a matter of they have been promised for a while if they did this and take the tag team championships that there would be focus on the women's tag division. And obviously that is something that has never really been a top priority for WWE, and that was maybe part of what they were upset about. Doug, what are we supposed to take from all of this?
So here's the thing with this, man. This isn't the first time Sasha took her ball and went home.
It's not.
But, I've said for quite a while that, Naomi should be part of the bloodline too. Everything I'm reading, everything I'm watching, news programs that cover things like we do, but in much more in depth than we do, since we're just a once a week show. Everything is saying that basically what you said. They were unhappy with the finishes. They were unhappy with the direction, and basically it sounds like they were just handed the belts to say, "Here, carry these around and do something with them." They really mean absolutely nothing, because I think it is quite the joke with Michael Cole being fed the lines through his earpiece, talking about how there will now be a women's tag team tournament. I can think of 2 tag teams, I think, in the WWE right now, female tag teams that could compete, and 2 does not make a tournament unless they just start randomly throwing women together real quick.
We should point out though that Naomi and Sasha themselves were thrown together real quick before WrestleMania. I mean, they weren't a long-standing tag team by any means. I mean, outside of the Iconics, who have been gone for a while, what permanent female tag teams in WWE can you even think of?
I mean, let's see. We've got Natty and Baszler, which are sort of still a tag team, I guess. And then, you got the Scots thrown together. You Doudrop and Nikki ASH, and who else we got as a tag team? I mean, Selena and gosh, I forget the names. Carmella. They broke that up. So
I mean, we got to think that that this tournament's going to be nothing but makeshift tag teams,
which again
kind of proves the point.
Exactly, it does prove the point. I mean, it sounded like what was going to happen was Naomi gets the win, goes against Belair. They have a similar thing on SmackDown. Sasha gets that win, and both of these women get fed to the champions at the next Premium Live event to get the current champs on both brands over. So.
Well, we should also point out, too, that WWE released a statement that reads so much like Damage Control. And then it's getting ahead of whatever the real story is, and pretty much referring to Sasha and Naomi. And they doubled down on this, too, by the way, on Friday night. If you didn't see it, Doug referenced that the lines that were being fed to Michael Cole. They're definitely trying to own this by being very public about it. It's not the normal behind the scenes dirt sheet stuff that you hear has gone on. They have made a public showing of suspending Sasha Banks and Naomi for their unprofessional conduct. They go on to pretty much talk about how they let the fans down and the other women of the division down. And I mean, again, making a huge show out of owning this. And you wouldn't do this if you weren't trying to get ahead of the story, knowing that there's more there. Doug, knowing all that, you have to think like they're in 2 different worlds. Sasha Banks is a big star. Naomi has been around for a very long time, probably should be a bigger star than what she is. Naomi is supposedly at the end of a contract. Sasha is not. It's not the very first time we've seen a public walkout, but if you look back at CM Punk or Stone Cold situations, we're in a different world now. Back when Stone Cold walked out on WWE, took his ball and went home, there was not an AEW. There was not the fear that, okay, we can, make fun of you, Stone Cold, which they did on air, made an example out of him too. But where was he going to go? There was no place for him to go. They're not, in this instance, in this world, now that we're heavy into social media, which again was not necessarily a thing when Stone Cold went home, they're not going to let these women tell their side of the story and then take their contracts and their talents over to AEW. So I just don't see, despite everything that's happened, I don't see Sasha Banks losing her job.
I don't see Sasha Banks losing her job, and I'm not sure how much stroke the bloodline, because I didn't get around to actually watching Raw until earlier today, and realized the bloodline was actually there too. So I wonder what kind of conversations went on with, hey hon, I'm going to hit the road. You do what you got to do, but me and Sasha are walking out tonight.
Do you think that either of these women will lose their jobs?
No, these women aren't going to lose their jobs. They may they may freeze their contracts, and whatever time is left on these contracts, it's going to be there when they come back, because that's also something. And not only is it Damage Control, they're also starting a legal argument here, I think, too. I mean, and this is just, Yeah, I agree, Scott. Too bad they, yeah. But yeah, I think, we're also seeing the beginnings of a legal argument here where they can say, this cost the company money because of this. They abandoned fans, they abandoned a advertised main event. So we're already getting into that with, I would love to think it is, Scott, but I
There,
don't,
yeah.
I don't think it is.
If
I mean,
so, it is a really elaborate one. And then if it ends up being a work, kudos to them for being able to pull off something in this day and age that is so hard to do. And that is work the fans at a level like this. There has been some supposition that this is a work just because it seems so fantastic.
It's so out in the open, which is very unlike WWE to get all this out in the open.
And I think that out in the open is exactly to the point of there is an AEW now, and they want to own this as these folks are in bad faith to their contract, as opposed to allowing the sympathy. They don't want a free Ali campaign for Sasha and Naomi, which, I mean, there's a good point to bring up. If they would rather let Mustafa Ali sit out his contract than to let him walk to AEW, they're certainly going to pay Sasha Banks to sit at home and badmouth her on TV every week before they ever terminate her and let her walk over to TBS TNT.
And, one news story I was watching today on YouTube mentioned that both Sasha and Naomi do have about 2 months left on both their respective contracts. So that's interesting too. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's accurate. It seems like Sasha should have more time, but if she doesn't,
Yeah, I've read Naomi's coming to the end and was in the process of renegotiating, in fact. But I thought Sasha had more time. But
yeah, me too. Me too. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but nevertheless, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I think they'll either set out or they'll come around. I mean, Sasha has other things she can do. I'm sure Naomi does too. Maybe we can get to see some Casca Reeves back in Ahsoka. It just started, filming last week, so I'm all for that.
I know we have a lot to cover, including Double or Nothing, and there's way more in the news.
Yes.
But one last thing I think I want to get into this discussion, and it's shocked me, and here's another reason they won't be going anywhere. But Naomi and Sasha are 2 of 3 Black women on the main roster. So you're having 2/3 of the Black female representation on your show. You're not going to cut them. One, it is obviously the wrong thing to do and sends the wrong message about just it highlights how not diversified your division is, even though you've claimed to make all these strides. That's another reason that they will probably try to work it out between them. But until then, WWE and Vince McMahon seem intent on trying to embarrass them.
Yeah. We'll see how this all plays out. I think there's a lot more to be heard. And I've also read some stuff. I haven't went back and independently verified, but I guess there were some tweets or some Instagram posts or something like that were leading up to this, even before this, like over the weekend, that either Banks or Naomi or maybe both had started to put out kind of, and of course, that all feeds into, well, is this work? Is this work? Was this coming? I don't know. I think there's a lot more to be heard from all this, and it's going to be a wild ride, man. Wrestling in 2022.
We will keep on top of it here on the Two Bros Wrestling Show. But moving on, Doug, WWE isn't the only wrestling company in the world having public trouble with a top star. New Japan Pro Wrestling is in a very public dispute with the great Kota Ibushi, who among other things, has been claiming that New Japan had rushed him back from injury, which caused him to get injured again. However, that is a very, as bad as that sounds, it's actually a mundane issue compared to how this situation has evolved and the other things that have come out. Have you been following any of this?
I knew I read something earlier about Ibushi, and one of his gem qualities, if you can call it that, is his, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I won't sign long-term contracts. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. He is very much his own man when it comes to that. I think that's what, when he was flirting with WWE a few years ago, it became clear to both sides that he was not willing to, he's the meatloaf guy. He's going to do anything for wrestling, but he won't do that kind of a deal. So, but what is going on? What have I missed?
Well, among other things, as the tension has mounted and their relationship has devolved, Kota Ibushi has accused New Japan wrestling officials of sexual harassment, as well as being in bed with the Yakuza.
Oh, my.
Oh, my, indeed.
So, again, it's not a heart attack. It's really not.
This is another just crazy story that we'll have to keep on top of. For the time being, they have not fired Ibushi. He's still part of the company. They are working on their relationship. They're not giving up on it, but they have been very public about the fact that they are not happy that Ibushi is deciding to take his grievances public.
Wow. In bed with the Yakuza.
That's big time. When you start making those accusations,
Ibushi is like the meatloaf of wrestling too, didn't I?
You did. I was wondering where that was going. I'm like, did he just say the meatloaf of wrestling? But no, you came around. You tied the bow on that one.
It's a wild time, folks. Hold on tight.
Hold on tight, because the 16-time world heavyweight champion Ric Flair has confirmed he will wrestle just one more time. He promises. The 73-year-old wrestling legend is going to go for this event at the Nashville Fairgrounds, calling it Ric Flair's last match. It's being done around SummerSlam weekend, when all the wrestling world is centered on Nashville. The match itself hasn't been announced yet, but rumors suggest Nature Boy is going to be involved in the multi-man match, which makes sense. Perhaps teaming with FTR against the Rock and Roll Express and another opponent. One opponent we know it is not going to be is Ricky Steamboat, who acknowledged he was approached to be involved, which makes all the sense in the world, obviously, with that connection. But he didn't feel that at age 69 he could give what the fans wanted, and that it was a very good payday, but he wants people to remember his last run when he made that comeback in his his late 50s, when he had a couple of matches against Chris Jericho that were way better than they had any right to be. And I can totally respect Steamboat's not wanting to tarnish that. We'll of course let you know whether or not Ric Flair dies in the ring. So good luck, Nature Boy. Please be careful. I know. See, Doug is having sympathy pains right now for the Nature Boy. That's what it's going to look like on the 31st of July.
It hurts.
It's too bad this is a funny show, Doug. It's too bad.
I know.
How about some not funny news? This is seriously not funny news, because I shouldn't say poor, because that is not the right, that's not the right word I'm looking for. Tammy Sitch, WWE Hall of Famer Sonny, is in trouble once again, and it's never good trouble, but she was arrested earlier this month on 9 total counts connected to the death of Julian Lassiter during a traffic accident back in March. So she is to be arraigned later this month. She was charged with 1 count of causing death while operating a vehicle with a suspended or revoked license, 1 count of DUI causing death, 4 counts of DUI causing injury, and 3 counts of DUI causing damage to property. Her arraignment has been scheduled for May 31st, but before she can go to arraignment on May 31st, she's also doing court in New Jersey later this week, on May 26th, in fact, for charges related to a arrest that she had back in February. There's actually been some talk and some petitions about folks saying she needs removed from WWE's Hall of Fame because of all of the issues that have dogged her over the last 20 years of her life.
Wow, this one was completely off my radar. I completely missed this, but my goodness.
And I told you, man, we're getting dark. We're getting Yakuza and death and everything. We got to get back to some fun wrestling. How about Roman Reigns re-signing?
How about that? How about that part-timer schedule he's got now? Good for him, man. He knows his worth and was able to negotiate it. Good for him.
House shows. It's going to more closely resemble what Lesnar had, and yeah, good for him. I mean, I know he's the world champ. People don't like it when the world champ doesn't travel, or you're not going to see him at your local arena. But let's face it, he's in his late 30s.
I have no idea. I mean, Whatever age he is, he
Yeah.
looks great. But yeah, here's the thing: WWE, I think already, they established the precedent with Lesnar. They did this to themselves. They put the top dog, no pun intended, but they put the top dog, the big dog, in a position, where that, they've already established that we don't need a full-time world champion. We can have a part-time world champion that's more of a feature player, and that's exactly what Lesnar was. And now, it's my understanding that it's going to be more than Lesnar appearance-wise, but we're not going to see the tribal chief on everything. Hell, I think he's setting out Hell in a Cell, or whatever's next. I don't even know. Is that Hell in a Cell? What is next?
Hell in a Cell's next for WWE, and
he's actually setting that one out, right? As from what I'm hearing right now. So I mean, the dude can set out pay-per-views now. Good for him.
You're talking a middle-aged guy with a couple of kids who is a cancer survivor. So right. I mean, the idea of not being on the road would be appealing to him, and the idea that he's going to try to get into movies and follow his cousin, which again, if he can manage to make that transition, like The Rock and to some extent John Cena now has done too, good for him.
I mean, tell me a guy that looks like that cannot find a role in, or even Dave Bautista, because a guy that looks like Roman Reigns can easily slide in to any DC or MCU movie and have a minor role to build on. I mean, and his cousin is in the DCEU universe now as Black Adam. So
congrats, Tribal Chief.
Absolutely. Good for him, man. Good for him.
More coming and goings, and I'll just run these down as lists because there's a lot of them. But Alexa Bliss made her long-awaited return to Raw. Stu Grayson, done with AEW. Willie Mack and Jonah both have finished their stints in Impact. On the other hand, Mia Yim has now signed a contract with Impact. The man with a million names, Johnny Hennigan, also now known, I guess, as Johnny Elite, showed up at AEW this week as the wild card in the Owen Hart match. He has not, however, signed a contract. This was more of a one-off, but a lot of coming and goings. So speaking of coming and goings, it went a couple of years ago, and now it's back. NXT on the road after more than 2 years. NXT is returning to running house shows. You and I managed to see one of the very, very last NXT shows before the pandemic shut everything down, NXT included, back in March of 2020. But it's been since March 2020 since NXT has been on the road. But currently the 2.0 brand is scheduled just to be running shows in Florida. Well, it'll be interesting to see how successful those are and whether or not they begin to expand and do more full touring like they used to do. And then, Doug, go ahead.
I was going to say, that is interesting. Are you going to touch on like a major going from this week? Because it sounds like we're about to wrap up the news.
You go for a major going because I'm wrapping up on a different point. I might have missed somebody.
Stephanie, gone from WWE. Did you catch this news story? Triple H officially returned. Triple H officially returns in a limited capacity, and Stephanie has taken a indefinite leave of absence from the company.
I did not know that.
Stephanie McMahon, I don't think it's unfair to say that she has been instrumental in ushering in a rebranding of WWE from the Attitude Era to the PG era that we all know and love today. All sources point to this being Stephanie's decision, not being forced out by any other cons, not Tony, but I forgot the other con who's in charge of a lot of things at WWE. And he's going to be taking over her roles for now as like basically the Brandy Rhodes from my mind processing from an AEW standpoint as the chief branding officer. He's going to be taking over those for the time being. But again, Stephanie leaving WWE to spend more time with her family just as the game returns to the WWE. Again,
for bearing the lead
role than he had before. But very interesting things going on at the house that McMahon built.
We'll keep our tabs on that. Thank you for putting that on our radar. I've been a little out of it the last couple of days and have missed that one. Again, I feel like
I've been out of the day job for a few days, recouping from my last hardcore battle with gravity. So I've been news.
What I was ending on is more lighthearted, and that's just Hollywood related news. I know we touched on some transitions earlier, but wrestling and Hollywood connections here. Young Rock is being renewed for season 3, top-rated comedy on NBC. If you all have not watched it, it is great as a situation comedy. But if you're a wrestling fan, the Easter eggs seeing a young, literally a young Rock with a child Roman Reigns, with the Roman Reigns challenging him to a WrestleMania match, and he says, "Not just yet." I mean, that kind of is the Easter eggs that you have to watch Young Rock for. It's fantastic. Former WWE talent David Otunga is now being seen very prominently. If you've seen the previews for Disney Plus new Marvel series She-Hulk, so congrats to Otunga, who spent 7 years in WWE. It looked like he's got a big role. And speaking of big roles, lastly, Miro, who we've been wondering for some time, when is he coming back to AEW? Absent for a while now. Been away filming the CBS police drama East New York. And you can look that up and see that there's, he's not slumming. This is, there's some stars attached to this, but the trailer just dropped and he is prominently featured as well. So he might be helping with his transition into the world of broader entertainment. And with that, Doug, that's a lot of news. That's maybe the most.
That was almost a half hour of news.
Let's see how fast you think we can do this main event, because there's a lot of matches coming up at Double or Nothing.
There is a lot of matches, and my phone's almost dead, and that's where I'm pulling everything from tonight. So we better go quick.
I got you, brother. I got you on that one. I don't have a working bell. My bell's broken, but I got some matches.
All right, let's do this.
Let's talk Owen Hart. I'm sorry. I got some connection issues. I'm doing a road show tonight, so I might play the role of Doug in this one and just randomly freeze on you. But
that's all right. I can ramble for hours about AEW. I'm pretty sure I do it every week.
You want to start Owen Hart Foundation, the men's match. We don't know exactly who it's going to be yet, but it's going to be some combination of two of these next few men, and that's going to be Jeff Hardy, Adam Cole, Ray Phoenix, Kyle O'Reilly, or Samoa Joe.
So let's look at this. So I'm looking at Kyle O'Reilly or Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole. Cole's got his slot for Double or Nothing, right? But Kyle O'Reilly and Samoa Joe get settled this weekend or this Wednesday. I don't see as interesting as it would be to see the Undisputed Elite kind of bumping heads there. I don't think that's the direction AEW is going to go. So I see Joe going against Adam Cole, which would be a banger, as the kids say these days. And if somebody has to go over there, oh man, that one's hard, man. That is really hard because Joe is one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. I mean, he's right up there with CM Punk. I don't know. That is so hard. I'm going to go with Joe just because Joe's my fave. I'm going to say Joe goes over O'Reilly this Wednesday, and then Joe goes over Adam Cole when we get there, because I think we're gonna eventually work our way into a trios where we're going to see Red Dragon, and this is some armchair booking, and I'm going way off the reservation here, but we're going to see Red Dragon and Adam Cole, versus a Young Bucks and a returning Kenny Omega going for a trios championship that is going to be introduced at some point. So I'm saying Joe going all the way through there. That's just my call.
I'm going Adam Cole. I think that Adam Cole has been not just the de facto leader of the elite, the Undisputed Elite, but I think that it is going to set up a match for returning Kenny Omega and control of that. And I think they'll position him by having him win this tournament, because he's made it up to the main events and has tended to be on the losing end here in AEW. So I think they build him back up by giving him this tournament victory.
Man, I like that booking too. I don't have a problem with that. But just like I don't bet against Banks, I'm not going to go against Joe either, I don't think.
Probably a good move. So we got the women's. How do you see? I know, again, we don't know exactly who. We got Britt and Tony getting ready to square off. But also still in the picture was Ruby Soho is waiting to see who she's going to face. I think they figured that out this past week, that it was Chris Statlander.
So this is difficult because we're looking at Ruby Soho versus Chris Statlander, or Tony Storm versus Britt Baker. So I mean, it looks like this is still up in the air. Does this happen on Wednesday night too? From what I'm understanding, We got Storm or Britt, and surely AEW is not going to have two women's matches on Wednesday, right?
I think.
I mean,
I
I love me some AEW, but that women's division needs some love, man. And I'm looking at this thinking, okay, we have a couple of things to resolve before we get to Double or Nothing. Toni Storm or Dr. Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho or Chris Statlander. I'm going to say Storm versus Statlander would be interesting. I want to see that. That's what I want to see, and I'm going to see Toni Storm go over. I'm just fancy booking all over the place tonight.
When you don't know who are the final participants in the match are going to be, it makes it even harder to predict because there's a couple of different ways they can go. On the one hand, to me, the interesting part of this bracket, and no offense to Red Velvet and Chris Statlander, but is who goes over with Baker and Storm, because Baker obviously had carried that division for so very long. Do you need to sort of rebuild her a little bit, remind folks of who she is? She's kind of taking a back seat. Do you give her this victory at the expense of your shiny new toy, or do you make a statement with Toni Storm as being a big deal that WWE missed out on and let her go over the legendary AEW former AEW Women's Champion Britt Baker? I think they go that route. I think that Britt is strong enough in her character and knows how to play the game that she allows, signs on to this booking and lets Toni Storm go over. In that case, I think that probably the more entertaining match from there is probably Storm. Ah, gosh, man, I don't know. Looking at this,
I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? I mean, there is a ton of talented women here. I mean, anybody. God, and I say this a lot, but I mean, any of these four in any match together would be a win for whoever's watching. I mean, because you got Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, and Chris Statlander. Statlander probably, arguably, the less known of all these folks, but still, Statlander has skills. For
that reason, I think they go they go Storm. I think they definitely go Storm, and I think Soho, just for the name. I think that's a bigger match. It'll be interesting to see how they play it with two faces going against each other. I just don't see this going Britt Baker's way. But if you do need a heel in the match for Double or Nothing, then maybe there is some sort of crooked means by which Toni Storm takes the L here, just so they don't have to worry about making fans decide who to cheer. Overall, though, I think that Toni goes all the way. I think at the end,
the win for Toni, regardless of how the rest of this works out. The win for Toni. Yeah, I'm on board with you, man.
Let's go the AEW Tag Team Championship match. We got the Jurassic Express versus Absolute Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs versus Strickland and Keith Lee.
Man, so I don't know how you feel about this because we're not really had a chance to talk about this, but is it just me or is the AEW Tag Team Championship the least important the least important tag team championship? You got the ROH, you got the AAA, I almost said the Triple H tag team championship. And then you got the AEW championship. At least they acknowledged, FTR acknowledged this week that they're going after the IWGP. They're going after every tag team championship they can as soon as they grab, eventually grab this AEW championship. But on Jurassic Express, I think that belt has lost some prestige, and I like Jurassic Express. I think Jungle Boy is the future of AEW, just like Sammy Guevara is. But I think it's time to take it off of him, and you put it on some talents like Swerve and Keith Lee. Hell yeah, I'm on board for that, man. I'm calling Swerve and Keith Lee for this win.
So it can be argued that your tag team championship match here is not even the most compelling tag team match on this card.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll get to that one here in a couple of moments. But I agree that I like a Jurassic Express a lot, but they have not been the focus, and it might have been a slip of the tongue. I think I called JR with my botch of the week on this one a few weeks ago, but he called it like he saw it. And when he said FTR, how can you deny FTR is the best tag team in the world? Look at them holding all that gold. And it wasn't the AEW championship, tag championship gold, because honestly, that title isn't as prestigious right now because I don't think that, and it's not really Jurassic Express's fault. They haven't had a lot of signature matches. I think that would make that the case, or make that the most prestigious tag titles right now in the division.
I think the most important thing to watch with Jurassic Express, because I think AEW is good at this long-term storytelling, is how you've got like this angry sports dad in Christian that is coming always to console his adopted son there in Jungle Jack Perry with his losses recently. And come on, you're doing that. Come on, you gotta toughen up here. You gotta get out there and you stop letting these people get in your head, kind of stuff. It's gonna come down. We're gonna see Jurassic Express lose these belts. Christian turn on them, and then I don't know if we're going to see a Christian Jungle Jack, but Christian is going to turn on Jungle Jack at some point. I don't know if it leads to a match or if it leads to breaking up a Jurassic Express. I think that definitely happens at some point, but I think that's a more compelling story of what's going on with those tag team titles for AEW than anything, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the belts. So let's get the belts off them.
I'm calling it now. I think that I actually think Christian does turn on this night, because that is definitely the most compelling aspect of Jurassic Express's presentation at this point, is waiting for that turn that they keep teasing. And I think that they do it. They take the belts off of them on this night, and I like the idea of giving it to Swerve and Keith Lee, because honestly they've not done enough with them yet. In my opinion, and I think it would help them to hold the belts and get a little more focused. And this is probably bouncing around, honestly. This next one's probably one that's more likely to be the buy-in match, or at least an opening contest. But we got Hookhausen taking on Tony Nese and Mark Sterling.
And here we talk about
Hookhausen in this one. Now, I mean, I don't care what Doug says. You might disagree, but come on. Mark Sterling is not pinning Hook. Is he, Doug?
Dude, I'm dying over here because I'm laughing so much tonight.
Oh, man.
Here's the deal, man. Hookhausen is great. I love everything about Hook. Hook is another one of those future players in AEW, just like Sammy Guevara, just like Jungle Jack Perry, which eventually we're going to drop that jungle and he's going to be Jack Perry. Hook is another one of those talents. Hookhausen, I love the dynamic there between the two. Love Hookhausen. Hookhausen is going over. No questions asked.
Hookhausen's going over. This is just chapter 1 in the broader Hookhausen story.
Absolutely.
And Tony Nese and Mark Sterling will be the footnote as to who did Hookhausen beat in their first match.
Yes. Yes.
We got, speaking, you referenced earlier, Doug, eventually we're going to see some trios championships. On all likelihood, I agree that's happening. Let's set this one up that way by saying we got House of Black versus Death Triangle, 6-man action here. Could get a little crazy, but I'm going House of Black.
So here's the thing with this, man, and this is just my take on it. I think Ray Phoenix's injury kind of put this feud on the shelf for a while. And I hate to say this about AEW because I am a hardcore AEW mark, in case you hadn't noticed. But I don't think they exactly knew what to do with the House of Black. And I still really don't think that, Buddy Murphy, he's not Buddy Murphy anymore. Is he just Buddy? What is Buddy Matthews? Really fits the overall aesthetic. But I do like the dynamic that House of Black has. And I think we've taken a very long road to get to this Death Triangle versus House of Black match. I'd like to see House of Black go over, though. I'm going to agree with you there. It's going to be an amazing, amazing match that will finally put this to an end, and then we can go on with Death Triangle having their own thing and House of Black having their own thing after this, and we kind of get to define more of these guys based on their respective factions going forward. But I think this feud really suffered from Ray Phoenix being injured, and then just kind of like some weird cosplay and some other questionable decisions within AEW creative. But I think we're back on track now. We'll get this resolved and we'll move on to bigger, better things.
I'm going to get further in the weeds here and say the House of Black not only goes over, but I'm booking it and saying that Julia Hart gets involved, officially joins Death Triangle, removes her eye patch, and we reveal that oh, she's not just nursing a injured eye. She's now, you know, cosplay evil like Alex or whatever. But I do think that that they're
going to have half of her face painted too, because I don't know what it is about my AEW stars, but man, nobody can paint their full face in AEW, and I don't understand that.
I think what a growing injury. It's not a bruise, whatever that is growing under that eye patch is going to be a partial face paint. I do think that's where they're going with it. Doug, we got
got like the weird lightning bolt thing, you know, but you know, it's still half face paint. I don't get it, man. Only Sting has full face paint. Oh, Jeff Hardy has a lot of full face paint, but you know,
he does, yeah. The old guys, they let the old guys paint their faces all the way. Everybody else half paint.
Right. The rest of the roster has not earned it yet, right?
You haven't earned it. That's it. Jay, this one was just finalized after Rampage on Friday, but we have a contender now for the TBS Championship. I love Anna Jay, but the champion is Jade Cargill. Obviously, Cargill is money early on into this run that they have her on, this unbeatable like monster role, the leader of the baddies, all of this. So Anna's not winning this one. We're going to go farther with this storyline.
Man, everything you just said is, you know, words right out of my mouth. Love Anna Jay, but you know, she's not going over Jade Cargill. You know, that's not happening. It's just not. I mean, when Cargill first started, I was like, wow, this girl looks great. She can't really work a stick yet. You know, she's not great on the mic. She's like, okay, hold my beer and watch this, Doug. I'm going to show you I can work the mic, you know. So, you know, just goes the total package. You know, AEW needs to throw a lot of money at her to keep her whenever her contract expires, because she is, again, one of the future players in AEW if WWE doesn't throw a lot of money at her to snatch her away.
So we're definitely in agreement on that one. Let's see where we land on this one, because you talk about a tag team dream match. You have the legendary Hardy Boys. After Rampage, it was made official that they've been challenged and have accepted the modern day version of the Hardy Boys. I mean, if there ever was, we talked cosplay, if there was ever anyone doing Hardy Boy cosplay and then upping the ante with modern day athleticism, it is what the Young Bucks have done over the last 15 years or so. This really is a tag team dream match. Despite the, you know, Hardy's obviously not in their prime, still very, very good. I'm really excited to see this. Now, I know it's happened before, it's happened on ROH and things, but on this big a stage, still, I think this is special for wrestling fans, isn't it?
That is exactly it, man. I mean, we've seen this before. I mean, you know, we've seen this before. Maybe not everybody's seen this before, but we have seen this before. You know, right before the Hardys made their WrestleMania, gosh, I forgot what WrestleMania it was, debut, you know, they're wrestling the Young Bucks like the night before in a ladder match, right? Yep. And now, you know, we get to see this match again, not a ladder match, but, you know, I mean, this is a classic match. How do you even call a winner here? How do you even try and book this, man? I don't know. I mean,
you let them go out, and you let the Hardys be the Hardys, and then you let the Young Bucks be the Young Bucks, and let them tear the roof off the place. I wouldn't want to follow the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. No. I don't care what year it is. That's an act you don't want to follow. I'm going to go Young Bucks, though. As far as predicting it, I think that it's a, you know, not a pass the torch kind of moment as in the Hardys are done, but the Hardys know that they are not the future. And even though the Young Bucks at this point are not the future either, they're not young boys anymore, but they're
the middle-aged Bucks at this point, unfortunately.
They are. I mean, truly, there's definitely younger, faster tag teams now, but I still think the Hardys do the honors and let the younger kids go over on this one.
I would like to see that. I just don't know how to call this one, man. And I'll go on record. It's, two of my very favorite tag teams, you know, going head to head here. I don't know how to call this. Yeah. Don't know how to call it, man.
let's talk anarchy in the arena, Doug.
At least it's not a stadium stampede nonsense this time around. So here's the thing: this happened a lot faster.
Except it is, just a different name, which I think is kind of funny. But
this feud happened a lot faster because I think if you go back to our archives, you'll see me fanboying all over this. As you have the Jericho Appreciation Society, the sports entertainers, and you have this diametrically opposed, like Blackpool Combat Club, who are the wrestlers in AEW. These gentlemen of violence, if you will, and now they're coming together. I did not expect this to happen so soon. I wanted more. I shouldn't say I wanted, but I expected more build up. Maybe something a little bit later on down the line, but we're getting it now. We're getting it next week. I'm going to go with the Blackpool on this one.
Man, I'm going the opposite direction because
all right, cool.
Jericho's going to throw a fireball in their face because he's a freaking wizard. I think that Jericho is still doing top-notch work. The rest of the guys, I know we've talked before, like the Jericho Appreciation Club's a little hit or miss as far as the talents involved. Maybe not the people we would have picked, but I think because of that, they need it more. And because it's a multi-person match with this, basically you can call it something that's not a stadium stampede. It is a stadium stampede match because these always happen at Double or Nothing. Traditionally, the previous two, they've just given it a sports entertainment name, which makes it even funnier. I know the Blackpool Combat Club is money and they have bigger things that will be in their future, but I think that they don't have to be the reason that this one goes the other way. You got Eddie Kingston or Santana Ortiz. Either one of those three guys can take a fall here, and I think that the Jericho Appreciation guys need minted more than anybody on Blackpool Combat Club or Santana Ortiz or Eddie Kingston need. Poor Eddie is Teflon. He loses all the time and fans love him.
That's true. Eddie is amazing. I love Eddie. But Wheeler Yuta suspiciously absent, but not necessarily so because I believe he's doing something with New Japan.
Yes, they're actually letting him go to the New Japan, the Super J tournament.
Right. So we have, the Eddie Kingston and Proud and Powerful here, Santana and Ortiz, filling in there. So it falls together so nicely. But so nice. I'm really anxious and curious to see what kind of involvement Regal has too at this, so that's going to be some fun. But I'm calling Blackpool, you're calling Jericho. We'll see how this one wins. Either way, we both win, man. This will be a fun match.
It will be fun. Also sure to be a fun match. Let's go. Oh, we'll save the two title matches to last, even though this might be the match that might truly be the main event in a lot of people's minds, the one we haven't talked about that doesn't have a title at stake, and that is Wardlow versus MJF. If Wardlow wins, he is released from his contract with MJF, but if he loses, he is barred from ever signing with AEW. Wardlow's time, MJF has done everything in the world in this long form storytelling to set Wardlow up for a big signature victory where he finally gets the handcuffs taken off, literally in this case, and is allowed to come back to AEW and maybe get us some entrance music or something. But man, what a great story. Let's hope that it gets the blow off match it deserves. But Wardlow is going to go in, and despite whatever the chairman or anybody else that MJF gets involved, whatever they try to do, Wardlow is just going to melt through them like butter.
Agreed, 100%, man. This is Wardlow's time, and MJF has done an amazing job. He has played his role so well, and I expect nothing less of Maxwell Jacob Friedman at this point in his career. And he is just really at the start of his career. Let's all remember that, too. At the start of his career, really. But he is making a star in Wardlow here. And, Wardlow does get the win here, absolutely. He gets his AEW contract, and then we go into bigger and better things with Wardlow. MJF goes his own way, but it's going to be an amazing show. And I think, again, Wardlow gets the win.
Wardlow gets the win. Now we talk to the title matches. We got the women's title. We got Thunder Rosa defending the AEW Women's Championship against Serena Deeb. And as much as I'd like to think Serena might walk away with this one, I have a feeling that Thunder Rosa is going to retain.
Yes, I agree completely. Serena Deeb is doing some of the best work of her career right now, but I think Thunder Rosa will continue. Thunder Rosa goes over here.
Well, that's one we're in agreement on, Doug. I'm not so sure about the last one.
Before we even get into this last one, I'm not so sure about this last one.
How do you book it, man? Hangman Page defending the AEW World Championship against CM Punk.
So if I'm Tony Khan, do I go with the homegrown hero, one of the EVPs of the company, to put him over in a major way? Or do I put the belt on this guaranteed draw that I am the one who brought this guy back to wrestling? This is, if I put myself in Tony Khan's mindset, what do I do here? Who do I put over? And because let's think about this. Hangman goes over CM Punk. That puts Hangman over in a major, major way. CM Punk goes over Hangman. That puts the belt on a I don't want to say he's a household name, but I think he's one of the closest things we have in AEW to a household name, along with Chris Jericho.
Granted,
this is a very hard call for me because I am a fan of all the founding fathers of AEW, Tony Khan, and all the elite. Before there was an AEW, I was a mark watching Being the Elite every week, and I still do to this day. This one's hard for me, man. This one is so close to home because I love CM Punk as a wrestler. Jump on my TikTok and you'll see me completely marking out in real time to CM Punk's, return to wrestling. This 48 at the time, 49-year-old man is completely marking out on the point of tears because after 7 years, CM Punk returns to an AEW ring. Man, this one's hard for me. I'm going to go with CM Punk, though. There. I'm just blurting it out. It's kind of like when I order at a restaurant sometimes. I look through the menu. I'm not really sure. I'm just blurting something out. CM Punk. Final answer. CM Punk.
I was on vacation, like in the middle of nowhere, like we were in Montana or someplace when CM Punk I knew he was going to be making his return, but I still had to see it to believe it. So I'm like watching on my phone, and my wife was like behind me filming me because of the reaction. Same thing as you, marking out like a kid. We knew it was going to be CM Punk, but it really is CM Punk, and this is amazing, right?
Exactly.
We're going to continue riding that CM Punk train. Hangman, you've done a great job of establishing yourself as a world champion. You've had a variety of different style of matches with a variety of opponents to show that you can go hardcore, you can go technical with the Daniel Bryans of the world, Bryan Danielsons of the world. But it's CM Punk's time. I'm not saying Hangman doesn't get it back down the line. I think he does. Younger, obviously, got more of a future ahead of him than CM Punk has ahead of him. But striking while the iron is hot. You had this big free agent come over last year around this time and making his return to wrestling, and he's done nothing but hang around the main event and win matches and win against big opponents. This is his biggest win yet. We're in agreement on this one. It's time for that title switch, and then maybe down the line Hangman gets it back. But for right now, Punk goes over, and where do you go from there? Punk Jericho for the title, Punk Kenny Omega returning for the title. I mean, like, there's a lot of fresh matchups that you can get. Punk Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship. The old Ring of Honor feud, born anew. It's a big audience now instead of like the little niche audience that I've had previously. Punk, man, it's going to be Punk.
It's gonna be Punk. I mean, that's just like Punk.
But a lot of matches, man. That is a lot of matches for Double or Nothing. So expect your typical AEW 4-hour show with an hour preview kind of thing. I'd say this is at least a 3.5-4 hour show all in. No pun intended.
Not all in. That happens later.
But yeah. Good looking card, folks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, God, either way this goes, I mean, I think it will be Punk. I mean, that's going to break my heart for Hangman having such a short title reign. But I think we worked a really good redemption arc with Hangman before, taking it from Kenny. But there's so much that could write itself there. You have that Punk Jeff Hardy thing that you could work again. The drunk millennial cowboy, the straight edge superstar who starts working heel, because I think we're going to get a Punk heel turn at some point, which I'm going to love, because that's going to be great. We're all going to love that. But yeah, I mean, there's a program there that writes itself, where you've got this drunken millennial cowboy, Hangman spirals after this loss, and maybe we'll get a redemption arc again. But we've already had that, though, so I don't want to, go to that well too many times. But my God, Punk Joe, oh my God, I hadn't even thought of that, man.
There's so much that they can do with Punk, as champion. And again, Hangman's been a great champion, and I think he'll have it again down the line. But it's going to be a great match. They might still be able to surprise us and go the other direction, but this is one we're on agreement on. So definitely check it out, folks, next weekend. I know it's the holiday weekend. We're actually off next weekend ourselves. Yeah. But we're not going to be competing against Double or Nothing. We'll be watching it ourselves. Tune in and then let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about our predictions, where we got it right and where we got it wrong in the comments. We would love that. Love to hear from you and what you all are most looking forward to at Double or Nothing. And with that, Doug, let's hit our big finish.
So, man, here's something I've had a problem with this week, thinking about big finishes, thinking about all the news that's happened this week. It seems like there are botches and performers perhaps outside of the ring, at least for me. And, match of the week, of course, has to happen inside the ring. So maybe, let me just jump in here and talk about match of the week first. Let's do that.
Sure.
I'm thinking match of the week. Let's look to WWE, at least for me this week. A match that I did not think would happen on live TV. I thought this was a premium live event match. So I found every reason, and I think WWE, teased me with every reason why this couldn't happen, because I did not expect a title for unification match this past Friday night. I expected to get teased with one. I expected to see, especially when Riddle got injured and, you had medical personnel going into the ring. I was like, okay, we're coming back from commercial break and it's over. It's done. They stopped the match because Riddle can't continue. Everybody gets to keep their belts. We push this on out some more. That did not happen. And I'm so happy, because what I've been expecting and wanting for the longest time is for, the tribal chief and his lieutenants to now hold so much gold in WWE. There were so many great near falls, so much great storytelling in this match, especially, something that builds, I think, to future matches, if not with Riddle, maybe Randy Orton becomes, I think, a more viable candidate to dethrone the tribal chief storytelling wise. And now there's a way to go for that. But yeah, as far as matches go, not necessarily for the athleticism in the ring, but for the overall storytelling and for, swerving me, this grumpy old Mark, that was like, well, this isn't going to happen. It happened. And I was so surprised that it actually happened. And the outcome I wanted, I expected at a pay-per-view, actually happened on Friday night. So Usos versus RK Bro, title unification match. I'm calling that my match of the week, man.
And surprising in the fact that there were some rumors coming out that WWE actually had changed their mind altogether about whether or not they were even going to unify the titles at any point. So definitely a surprise. Definitely a great match. Bizarro world here, though. I'm going to go AEW against Doug going WWE. No, the match I'm calling out because I think it probably is a low-profile match that most people are going to have missed, and I want to put some shine on it because you shouldn't have missed it. Wheeler Yuta versus Josh the Good Woods.
It was this close. That dark match was this close to being my match.
Dark Elevation, even not even dark Elevation. Right. That's why most people probably. I mean, you can sleep on that if there's so much wrestling. I get it, but a lot of times the YouTube shows are full of squash matches, but they do usually have a main event or two. And the Pure matches, this was for the Ring of Honor. It was a rematch for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. These matches can be, no pun intended, pure gold. But with these two talents especially, that was certainly the case.
Yes.
This one's so grossly underviewed because of where it appeared on YouTube only. I want people to seek it out. Seek it out. Wheeler Yuta, Josh the Goods Woods. If you've never seen a Pure Rules match, this is a great example of why Ring of Honor deserves Tony Khan's money and attention, and why it's going to be a success. I want to see more pure matches. I want to see Ring of Honor reimagined, as we had a topic a few weeks ago. Yes. I want to see it reimagined just like this. This is why we should be excited as wrestling fans for Tony Khan being over Ring of Honor.
Agreed 100%, man. I was this close to calling that my match of the week, because I don't watch a lot of Dark or a lot of Dark Elevation because my time is limited to what wrestling I can consume. So I try and prioritize AEW and then the two flagship shows of WWE. That's what we talk mostly about. And I know you're going to bring these other matches. Did not know you were going to bring that match, but I did, only because Wheeler Yuta was involved in it. I did seek this match out. And at the end of the day, I went with a WWE match because what it means for the future of WWE. But my goodness, that was an amazing match, man.
I'm glad we got the two big feds covered, including the big unification match as well as the underseen match. Let's talk now botch, Doug, because you sounded you piqued my interest there.
So here's the thing, man. And sometimes I veer outside of the ring for botches, and I'm going to have to call a botch for the way WWE handled Sasha and Naomi leaving. Not on Monday night. I think it was actually good to incorporate a storyline in with Becky Lynch saying, hey, they left. That, we could have rode that storyline out from there to why they left or whatever was going on there, write it into a storyline. The botch comes on Friday night when Michael Cole, staring down right into a camera like I am now, is saying all these, yes. I will be done shortly. You want to come in here and say hi? I'm in a grumpy old man wrestling rant right now. Would you like to join me?
Well, I'm trying to figure out
how to get what?
My game card in.
Okay. Hold on a minute. I'll switch your game card out, okay? So, Nintendo Switch game card needs switched out soon, so I'll be quick here. The botch comes when Michael Cole was not interrupted like I just was by a 6-year-old needing a game switched out, but when he's parroting the words of what I can only imagine is Vince McMahon staring into a camera, and they doubled down on disappointing the fans and all this and all that, where it seems to me like that just stinks of, I don't want to call it a corporate cover-up, but it's a corporation in full-on PR mode. Whatever comes next, I see that as a botch. And just to jump in and go ahead and kill two birds with one stone here, I never bet against the boss, so I'm calling out the boss and Naomi as performers of the week for standing up for themselves. Those girls put a ton of work into making those tag team titles mean something again. They got them over. They worked hard to do that. I think we're going to find out a lot more, probably from both sides. And again, I'm a firm believer in there's 3 sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. To quote Extreme from, if you're a late 80s,
same show.
But I think good for those girls for standing up for themselves and believing for more than that short-term gain of, hey, I get a main event something. Hey, I get a main event of Raw. I get a main event of SmackDown. Then I'm going to get fed to a champion. The work I've done for the past 2-3 months means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. I deserve better. These titles deserve better. Let's do something more with our women's division. So Naomi, Sasha Banks, my performers of the week for standing up for themselves. WWE, not necessarily, again, not for the way they handled it on Raw. They're working into a storyline. That's cool. They doubled down on it on SmackDown, though, with Michael Cole. And I'm not sure what was up with, oh gosh, I can't think of his name right now. Pat McAfee. The expressions McAfee had during that whole Michael Cole thing. Yeah, I'm not sure if Michael Cole's like, is this, or McAfee's like, is this the first time I'm hearing this, or what? Because he's supposed to be my performer of the week because he was just so damn entertaining at that point. But anyway, I'm rambling.
My botch of the week. Obviously, there's a lot that could be picked from this week. There is the real life situation that you definitely mentioned. I also, as of Monday night, before I knew what was happening with Naomi and Sasha, I had made the note about almost throws Bobby Lashley through the cage wall and then just stands there. And I know they're going for the old Stone Cold Big Show spot from back in the day, and way before that too. It's a common wrestling spot. You throw the guy through the cage, he lands on the floor. Except Bobby Lashley didn't land on the floor; he just landed on the cage and laid there for a few moments when Omos could have definitely come and grabbed him. But then, obviously he didn't. That was ridiculous. Could have been a botch. But then I get to Wednesday night. And then I get to Dynamite, and Chris Jericho had to bring Moxley's real life substance abuse issues into a promo. And that kind of cheap heat will always win this award from me. You're better than that, Jericho. Tony Khan, if you want to differentiate yourself from old out of touch McMahon, you need to start showing that you're better than that too. This isn't your first offense because you allowed MJF to do something very similar with the real life death of Darby Allin's uncle. I don't want that in my pro wrestling. It is a botch of the week. Despite how much I love everyone involved, they're better than that and could have got there without going there.
Agreed.
My botch of the week. My performer of the week, Doug, you covered it so well earlier, but I have to say, for all I've given love, and you have given love, and the Two Bros Wrestling Show have given love to our tribal chief, let's talk about the supporting cast. My performer of the week are the Usos. They have been there in this storyline thick and, from the beginning, and have added great color and texture to this story being told. The culmination of that story coming on Friday night when now the Bloodline hold all of the gold. They did what we weren't sure they were going to even go through with, and that is unify the tag team championship. And through it all, they've not only played great characters, they've had great matches, just like the one you called out as your match of the week. So my performer of the week are the Usos.
Sure.
And with that, Doug, we have wrapped up a half-hour news, a fully stacked AEW Double or Nothing card, and a lot we could have picked out for matches and choices for botches and performers. Woo! I think we need the week off.
Absolutely. I'm still recovering from my hardcore match with Gravity, so I could definitely use another week off. But, rest assured, we'll both be glued to our TVs next Sunday night, watching, and we may have a few things to say about that once we return. But,
yes, as you can see from the scroll, folks, returning in 2 weeks. We're watching Double or Nothing and then celebrating the holiday weekend as you all are next weekend. Do that. Tune back in for the 102nd edition of the Two Bros Wrestling Show, where we'll be doing a preview of Hell in a Cell, and Doug, with his woo, is seeing who has a heart attack first, him or Ric Flair. That's the next competition we're going to be predicting.
Hey, it's a roll of the dice at this point. I'm telling you, it's not a cardiac event like Triple H. It's a musculoskeletal thing, but
Hey, my money's on Flair. He's in better shape, folks.
Flair is probably in better shape because I took a very Flair-esque bump to start all this off. So, again, that's a story for another time.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, for the Two Bros Wrestling Shows. See you in 2 weeks.
See ya.